Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 33. Hey there, Amanda James.
Hey there, everyone.
So, today we are going to go over the judge's order. So, originally we were thinking we were going to talk about NBC's response and also Lorne's response to their response, and then their response to his response, but we decided not to. We're going to yada yada over that part and we're going to go to the very end because a lot of it is repetitive and a lot of it is bogged down in legalese, citing cases and all of that. And while that's necessary, of course, we didn't really want to do it. So
Yeah, it's a lot to go back and forth. It
it is.
got
Yeah.
repetitive and boring.
Yeah. So we wanted to get to the very end and just conclude this so that we can see what the judge had to say. So, one part that I forgot to mention last time was how much it was going to cost for Lorne to file this lawsuit. So, of
Mhm.
course, in civil court, it's not going to be free. He is not going to have any type of counsel that's going to be provided. So he's going to have to pay for it himself. And that, of course, is why he was going at it himself. So it cost $350 to file this paperwork.
Where did Lauren get that money? He was in
Hmm.
prison.
Well, there's one source that we know of, one source that was providing him with money throughout his incarceration.
Hmm.
Within all of this paperwork, it includes a list of all of the transactions for his books. And he had to provide all of that because he had to basically say that he didn't have any money.
Hmm.
And so you can see just going through it that every couple of weeks, I would say every other week, she was depositing money $30 here, $50 here, $100 here. I actually looked, I was curious about his birthday. He got
Hmm.
$100.
Oh my God.
So yeah, so she was forking out a ton of money. And she had to do it again. She had to pay another $350. Now, I've looked through some of the jail letters, and he has made reference to the fact that she doesn't want to talk about his arguments, basically. He's
Hmm.
made reference of, I know you don't want to hear it, and all of that type of thing. So it really sucks that now she has to pay $350 for something that's not going to go anywhere.
I wonder if she just said, fine, Lauren, I'll pay for it, just to kind of shut him up because she didn't want to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Or could she be delusional enough to think that he had a chance at $40 million or any large sum of money? Do you think she thought that he actually had a chance of winning anything?
Probably not. I
Yeah.
don't think that she has Lauren's side in this. I think she has his side in the fact that that's her son and she's
Hmm.
going to be, I suppose, supportive. But he he's not going to convince her. I don't think that he didn't do anything wrong. She knows that he did something wrong. And I think that I had heard that she didn't watch the show, which I understand why. Who would want
Hmm.
to?
Right.
But at the same time, how can you defend yourself against this act? We've talked about how it could be a frame job where like they had said that she was 18 the entire time. And then he walks in the house and they're like, aha, she's 13.
Hmm.
Do you hear the ice cream man?
Oh, I do.
It's going.
I want a two ball screwball.
Oh, okay. Hang on. I'm going to put it on pause. I got to go get her some ice cream.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Um,
Cute.
so yeah, so what was I saying? I got completely sidetracked.
That he wasn't. they didn't frame, there was no, he wasn't framed. He knew what he was doing.
Right.
He has no defense.
Right, exactly. And she knows that. She
Hmm.
knows that as well. So do you think she would tell him that he's talking stupid?
Um, I think for I think when it came down to it, when she'd finally get fed up with hearing about it, because I'm sure she heard about it constantly
All the
on the
time.
phone calls that she's paying for, in the letters that he is incessantly writing every single day, with the stamps that she's paying for, by the way. She
Right.
had to pay for all of it. And he just wouldn't shut up about it. And I think she would probably ignore it when it was in written form, but on the phone, I think she would probably say something like, "Well, you did what you did. It doesn't matter anymore. You did what you did."
Hmm.
Like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the excuses. I don't, I think she's very non-confrontational about it, or just wants to avoid that whole topic. It's horrible
It is
for a
horrible.
mother to think about your son doing something like that. That's the last thing I would want to be reminded of every single day.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And I think he did talk about it a lot. I'm sure that he
Hmm.
did. And she didn't want to hear it. I mean, what are you
Yeah.
going to say at a certain point?
Yeah,
You
you're
know?
right, Lauren. I know you wouldn't have had sex with a 13-year-old girl, even though you told her every day for a month that you were going to have sex with her. I know.
Hmm. Right,
I know.
exactly. So let's use our imaginations a little bit here, and imagine that Lorne is going to go into the courtroom because he's going to win his money, or so he thinks. So they're going to call him in. They're going to say, you know what, we normally don't do this, but why don't you come in? And the judge is going to tell you what his order is going to be. And so Lorne goes in and he gets dressed up, and all he has is his outfit that he wore at the sting. That's the only clothes that he has.
Yeah, he got arrested in them.
Hmm. So here he is. He went into court, and look at the smile on his face. He's pretty happy, at least right now, because he's thinking, wow, they're not going to call me in for nothing. They're not going to call me in to turn me down. I'm about to make millions and millions of dollars. This is going to be great.
Yeah, and be vindicated.
Be
A judge
vindicated.
ordered that NBC pay me, so they were obviously in the wrong. The whole thing was a setup. It was a show. It was a stage show.
That's right. That's right. So let's take a look at this order. So once again, just sit back and relax. We're gonna read this for you. So this is the memorandum opinion and order for Lorne Armstrong versus NBC Universal Inc. Defendant NBC Universal Inc. filed a motion to dismiss the action. Plaintiff has responded and defendant filed a reply. Additionally, defendant filed a notice of supplementary authority of a recent decision by another judge of this court in an almost identical case. Which case was that? Well, it was
Uh,
Patterson versus NBC.
yes, it was
Yeah,
Mr. Michael Patterson.
exactly. So that decision was handed down August 31st, 2012. So keep that date in mind, okay? So this matter is now ripe for determination. For the following reasons, the motion to dismiss will be granted. Uh-oh. Already it's not looking good. So the first section, facts. Plaintiff's complaint alleged that on October 18th, 2007, defendant, in concert with local police authorities, conducted a sting operation in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Plaintiff claimed that defendant lured him to the sting house. Prior to that date, he alleged that he had been chatting with a decoy in an adult chat room. Well, that's not true. He wasn't just in the adult chat room, he was only there for that one day.
In the, I'm sorry, what did you say?
In the adult chat room, he was only in the chat room when he first met Kayla, and then they left and started doing their little
Private.
instant message. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, yes, he
Hello, Amanda James.
Hello, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And I'm like, great, we're off to a great start.
Okay, so what were you going to say?
Yes, he met her in the chat room, and it was an adult chat room, but one of the first things she gave was her age, sex, and location.
Hmm.
So that gets thrown out of the water.
It does, yeah. The decoy claimed to be an underage female. She invited plaintiff to meet her at the Sting House. Although plaintiff initially declined, he eventually agreed to meet the girl at the house in Bowling Green. When plaintiff arrived at the house, he was placed under arrest and taken into custody by local police. Well, that's not entirely true. Well, it's the way that Lorne said it in his complaint.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't true. This should not be filed under facts. This should be filed under bullshit.
Right.
Because she didn't really invite him to meet her. She didn't say, "Hey, you want to come over?" He was trying to figure out how to go and meet her. So, and we know that by reading the chat.
Mm-hmm.
And then also stating that the plaintiff initially declined where?
Yeah.
Where did he decline
didn't.
anything?
That's what he said. I said no. I told her no.
Right.
That's just not the way it happened. The plan was for him to pick her up and bring her to his house.
Mm-hmm. So, and then also it says when plaintiff arrived at the house, he was placed under arrest. That didn't happen right away. Chris Hansen showed him his penis. Well, not Chris Hansen's penis. I should reword that.
Be more specific. His own penis.
His own penis. Oh my God. Yes, and then he was taken into custody. The complaint stated that defendant was present at the Sting House and filmed his arrest and search of his truck, then aired the events on national television in a series entitled To Catch a Predator as part of NBC's Dateline show. Plaintiff claimed that defendant also made material related to his online conversations with the decoy available to the public on various internet sites. Well, you're stating that that's plural. So where did NBC make his chat log available on various internet sites?
Well, they didn't. According to Lorne, at least, they just provided a link to Perverted Justice website,
Mm-hmm.
which had the chat log.
Right.
So I'm not sure where they're getting that from.
Plaintiff alleged that defendant's libel, slanderous, and defamatory accusations has caused him mental anguish. Plaintiff also alleged that defendant's participation in his arrest and search violated his constitutional rights under the Fourth Amendment. He also asserted state law claims for intentional disclosure of private facts, intrusion on the right to be left alone, harassment/intentional infliction of emotional distress, and negligence. Finally, he asserted that defendant was liable for violating the journalistic code of ethics. On initial review, the court dismissed plaintiff's claims under 42 U.S.C. as time barred. His claim for violation of the journalistic code of ethics was dismissed for failure to state a claim. The court allowed his Kentucky state law claims for invasion of privacy, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and negligence to proceed for further development. So immediately, there were claims that he made that were cut off from the top right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Because he had a certain amount of time to file, and he didn't do that. So
Right.
We read through what NBC said and also what Lorne said and that back and forth that they had. And in his complaint, as it's quoted here, he stated, libel, slanderous, and defamatory accusations have caused him mental anguish. That's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Then NBC said, well, you can't get any relief for that because you had a year to file those claims and you didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so Lorne tried to frame it in such a way that he didn't say that it was libel, slander, and defamation. so that he could extend out that statute of limitations, but that failed because he did say in his complaint libel, slanderous, and defamatory accusations.
Yeah, he verbatim said that.
Yeah, exactly. And it is funny here, of course, that he threw in the journalistic code of ethics. I remember we talked about that last time. It was like, okay, he's just stating that.
Mm-hmm.
He's not saying what the damage was. They're just saying, you know what? They're unethical. So
Yes,
I'm gonna put them in here as well.
right.
It's not right.
Exactly. They should take that into, the total picture here.
Mm-hmm.
Not only are they constitutional rights violators, but they also have no ethics, as outlined by the journalistic code of ethics.
Yes. So the next part here is the analysis that the judge performed. So would you like to read?
Yes. Analysis. In deciding a motion brought under federal I don't know what all that is. The court must construe the complaint in the light most favorable to the plaintiff, accepting all of the plaintiff's allegations as true. And then they cite a case here, Block v. Ribar. Um, Further, the allegations of a complaint drafted by a pro se litigant are held to less stringent standards than formal pleadings drafted by lawyers, in the sense that a pro se complaint will be liberally construed in determining whether it fails to state a claim upon which relief could be granted. Okay. And then there's another one. The court must determine whether plaintiff has pleaded enough facts to state a claim to relief that is plausible on its face and not merely conceivable. Facial plausibility arises when the complaint's factual content allows a reasonable inference of defendant's liability. And then there are all these names that I don't even know how to pronounce. If the well-pleaded facts do not permit the court to infer more than the mere possibility of misconduct, then the complaint has failed to show plaintiff is entitled to relief. Defendant's motion to dismiss argues that the plaintiff's state law claims are time-barred. Defendant additionally asserts that the plaintiff may not bring a tort. I don't know what that is. You know what that is?
Yeah, that's a civil. That's a civil action.
Oh, okay.
It's basically stating that the defendant hurt the plaintiff civilly,
Okay.
not criminally.
I see. Claim based on speech on matters of public concern, such as the Dateline report at issue, because he does not allege and cannot provide facts showing that the broadcast was false. Finally, defendant asserts that plaintiff has not established the required elements of the state tort claims: intentional infliction of emotional distress, invasion of privacy, and negligence. In response, plaintiff states that the defendant aired his crime on Dateline before he had pled guilty. He argues that when defendant broadcast his crime, it committed all four types of the tort of invasion of privacy, i.e., the use of his name, picture, or likeness without compensation, intruding upon his physical solitude, publicly disclosing private facts, and placing him in a false light in the public eye. He further argues that Kentucky's 5-year statute of limitations applies and that his claim is not governed by the 1-year statute of limitation for libel or slander. He further argues that defendant was negligent when it failed in its duty to act with due diligence and disclose too much of his personal information. In reply, defendant argues that because his tort claims spring from publication, the 1-year statute of limitations applies and that they are barred by the First Amendment. Defendant further asserts that, in fact, plaintiff's response demonstrates that each of his claims is based on the publication. For example, the defendant points out, plaintiff argues that when defendant broadcast his crime, he suffered an invasion of privacy. So this, okay, I guess it's just the analysis of the complaints.
Yeah, the
There you go.
complaint and then also what the defendant is saying too, what NBC
Mm-hmm.
is saying. Yeah, so he's putting it all together so that he can come to his conclusion.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, my favorite part about this is that last example. Plaintiff argues that when defendant broadcast his crime, he suffered an invasion of privacy.
Yeah, like,
That's actually what he said. He said that his crime was brought his crime was
right.
broadcast. Yeah.
Yeah, and he should have the expectation of privacy while committing a crime,
Mhm.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Invasion of privacy. In McCall v. Courier Journal 623, blah, 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 the Kentucky Supreme Court adopted the formulation for the tort of invasion of privacy set forth in the Restatement Second of Torts, as stated herein. Oh my God, being a lawyer is hard. Doesn't it sound hard?
No.
One who invades the right of privacy of another is subject to liability for the resulting harm to the interests of the other. Two, the right of privacy is invaded by A, unreasonable intrusion upon the seclusion of another, or B, appropriation of the other's name or likeness, or C, unreasonable publicity given to the other's private life, or D, publicity that unreasonably places the other in a false light before the public. There is nothing false about it, though.
Exactly.
They just showed what he said and did.
Mhm.
Nothing was made up, nothing was liable. Um, okay. However, as explained below, the allegations in plaintiff's complaint do not support a cause of action for invasion of privacy. Plaintiff alleges that defendant intentionally intruded on his right to be left alone when the decoy kept pressing him in his conversations with her in the internet chat room to meet after he had told her no. He states defendant knew he was vulnerable and wanted to lure him in for the sole purpose, quote unquote, sole purpose. So it's really funny is Lorne misspelled soul. He spelled the wrong soul.
Yes. S
And they
O
spelled it
U L.
Soul. Yeah. The sole purpose of making money with its television show. With regard to intrusion upon seclusion, such tort only becomes actionable when there is an intrusion upon the solitude or seclusion of another or his private affairs or concerns. Um, oh, and was that was taken from Michael Patterson's
That was taken from
case?
Michael Patterson's dismissal. Yes.
Okay. However, there can be no invasion of privacy where the plaintiff is engaging in conduct in a public place. The court finds Judge Russell's decision in Patterson persuasive on this point. Oh, don't bark, Angie. The events of the present case arose from a conversation in a public chat room on the internet. There was no intrusion upon his seclusion or his right to be left alone, where Patterson purposefully made himself available in a public place in order to converse with others. While in the public chat room, Patterson was not secluded and was outside of the scope of the protections provided by 652A and 652B. Availing oneself to a public chat room is no different than standing on a street corner and engaging in a conversation with passersby. One cannot be intruded upon and has no right to be left alone, where one has availed himself to the public. As such, Patterson has failed to state a claim for the invasion of his privacy, and this cause of action fails as a matter of law. Okay, so yeah, I mean, of course, that makes sense. The judge is saying you're in a public chat room.
Right.
You don't get, the expectation of privacy. Why do you have the right to be left alone when you're in a public chat room for the sole purpose of conversing with people?
Right, exactly. Yep, that's exactly what he's saying. So, and it sounds like the judge agrees
Hmm.
here as well. Yeah.
Oh, where did we stop? Um, the events of the present case arose from a conversation. Oh, I already read that, didn't I? Yes, I did.
Yes.
Plaintiff also alleges that his privacy was invaded when defendant was present and filmed the search of his truck. In Patterson, the court found that such a claim was most properly categorized as an alleged violation of the right to privacy arising under 652A and 652B. The court found that this cause of action fails as a matter of law, however, because the protection of 652B does not extend to the search of the car. An intrusion upon seclusion may occur by some form of investigation or examination into the plaintiff's private concerns, as by opening his private and personal mail, searching his safe or wallet, examining his private bank account, or some other place that the plaintiff holds apart and separate from public publicity and public view. None of the situations described in comment B are present or similar to the facts of the present case. Furthermore, there is no liability for intrusion upon seclusion where the plaintiff or his possessions are in public and open to the public eye. In the present case, Patterson was not at his personal residence at the time of the search, and his car was in no way protected from search or examination since it was used in the commission of a criminal act. Patterson simply has no cause of action for intrusion upon seclusion. That tort is meant to protect the privacy of people and their affairs, which are withheld from public view. These protections afforded by 652B are simply inapplicable where Patterson brought himself and his car into the public view during the commission of a criminal act.
Mic drop.
I think it's so funny that they use Michael Patterson's case against Lorne. They're like, we
Yeah.
already did all this work.
Right,
You see, we
exactly.
already proved all this, and we proved it here. And Lorne is the one who wrote Patterson's lawsuit.
Yes. I know, exactly.
Okay, I think I am right here. Here, as in Patterson, plaintiff has not stated an action regarding the search of his truck because the search took place in public. This cause of action, therefore, fails as a matter of law. With regard to unreasonable publicity, as Judge Russell found in Patterson, such a claim is properly categorized as an alleged violation of the right to privacy under arising under 652A and 652D. Under 652D of the restatement, one who gives publicity to a matter concerning the private life of another is subject to liability to the other for invasion of his privacy if the matter publicized is of a kind that would be highly offensive to a reasonable person, and B, is not of legitimate public concern. I got to take a timeout. Angie's going crazy. Hold
Okay,
on.
yeah, no problem. No problem. In the instant case, the information published by NBC was a matter of legitimate public concern because it concerned a criminal and his actions. No invasion of privacy occurs when one publishes information about criminals and their crimes. The comments to the 652D state those who commit a crime or are accused of it may not only not seek publicity, but may make every possible effort to avoid it. But they are nevertheless persons of public interest, concerning whom the public is entitled to be informed. These persons are regarded as properly subject to the public interest, and publishers that are permitted to satisfy the curiosity of the public as to its heroes, leaders, villains, and victims and those who are closely associated with them. Here, as in Patterson, at the time NBC disclosed the contents of the conversation between plaintiff and decoy, plaintiff was accused of seeking a sexual encounter with a minor child. Therefore, plaintiff has not alleged a cognizable claim for the invasion of his privacy. Let's see. So then he cites a case here about another, it was another situation where in a newspaper, they had named somebody and put somebody out there for the public to know. Plaintiff argues that defendant committed all 4 forms of invasion of privacy, including the 4th form, an appropriation of his name or likeness. Under 652C of the Restatement Second of Torts, this tort requires appropriation. That is, the defendant must have appropriated to his own use or benefit their reputation, prestige, social or commercial standing, public interest, or other values of the plaintiff's name or likeness. The value of the plaintiff's name is not appropriated by mere mention of it or by reference to it in connection with a legitimate mention of his public activities, nor is the value of his likeness appropriated when it's published for purposes other than taking advantage of his reputation, prestige, or other value associated with him for purposes of publicity. Moreover, the fact that the defendant is engaged in a business of publication, for example, of a newspaper, out of which he makes or seeks to make a profit, is not enough to make the incidental publication a commercial use of the name or likeness. The court finds that plaintiff has put forth no allegations to support such a cause of action. So clearly, the judge is not seeing that Lorne is the biggest thing on NBC.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what he's saying here.
Yeah, it says, so it's worded in a way that my brain has to take a minute to catch up at least. It's, it's not super easily understood upon first glance for me, but they must have appropriated to his own use or benefit the reputation, prestige, social or commercial standing, public interest, or other values of the plaintiff's name or likeness. Right. So they were benefiting off of Lorne's prestige. I mean, that's
right. That would have to be present in order for it to be a valid claim. So like you hear it all the time, especially now with AI, where celebrities are being used for endorsements when they didn't actually endorse something. So that would be a case for this. Lorne Armstrong is a schlub from Cornville, Maine, who waltzed down to Nashville to escape prosecution for fraud, and also, whatever other charges could have been associated with what he did to Betty, stealing all of her money. He's not known. He may have received a card from an alleged producer. But that doesn't make him a country music star. Nobody knew who he was.
Well, he had built a reputation for himself as a hardworking, honest, loving, caring, whatever bullshit he put in there.
Yeah.
He had spent his life building that reputation, and they destroyed it.
And they made money off of it. So NBC,
and the judge doesn't seem to give a shit about that.
He doesn't, and it's really unfair. It's really unfair. You know what it reminds me of? Remember the call where Lorne spoke to Winnie's mother?
Yes.
And she said something like, "Oh, Lorne?" And he's like, "Yeah, like she was, "Oh, it's Lorne. Oh, I've heard so many nice things about you." And she's like, "The pedophile?"
Yes.
He didn't like that very much.
Yeah, that took such a turn. He thought she was saying, This is Lorne, the Lorne that I've heard so much about. Yeah, and
Hmm.
that was great. Very funny.
Yeah, it was really good. So yeah, so Lorne was trying to say that they were making money because he's Lorne. That's what he's trying to say. And the judge
Wow.
said, no, don't think
Yeah.
so.
No, I don't think
Moving
so.
on. So the next claim that he's going to talk about is intentional infliction of emotional distress. With regard to plaintiff's claim for intentional infliction of emotional distress, defendant asserts that the injury for this tort claim springs from the publication, and therefore it sounds in libel and slander and is subject to the 1 year statute of limitations for libel and slander pursuant in the Kentucky statute. Plaintiff's claim for harassment, which the court found in its memorandum opinion on initial review to be best characterized as one for IIED, involves the placement on the website of the conversation between plaintiff and the decoy. This allegation is nearly identical to one of Patterson. Oh, wow. Is it?
Weird.
That is so weird. And
So
Judge
weird.
Russell found, and this judge said, I'm just going to cut and paste.
Yeah.
So Judge Russell said, the rule is firmly established in Kentucky that a statute of limitations, which specifically mentions a recognized tort, applies to all actions found on that tort, regardless of the method by which it is claimed that the tort has been committed. Additionally, a specific statute of limitations covers all actions whose real purpose is to recover for the injury addressed by it in the preference to the general statute of limitations. Accordingly, if Patterson's claim for IIED is founded on libel and slander, then that claim will be barred by the 1 year statute of limitations. Patterson's IIED claim is clearly founded on allegations of libel and slander by NBC and its affiliates. As specifically stated in the IIED portion of Patterson's complaint, quote, NBC Dateline put a link on their website so the public could see the conversation between suspect and quote unquote decoy, end quote. This conversation has been on the website from the time of the sting up to the present date. A person can only handle so much ignorance. Wait a second. Michael
That
Patterson
sounds
says ignorance.
familiar.
It does sound very, very familiar. And exposure and unwanted plus unneeded publicity. Patterson's cause for action for IIED clearly springs from libel and slander, and it's barred by the statute of limitations found in the Kentucky statute and will be dismissed.
Dismissed.
Dismissed. For the same reasons, the identical IIED claim raised by plaintiff in this case will likewise be dismissed. They said no, thank you. So now we're going to move on to negligence. Amanda James, please tell the people about negligence.
Defendant argues that plaintiff's negligence claim is time barred by a 1 year statute of limitation governing negligence actions found in Kentucky Statute 41314A because a cause of action for defamation accrues at the time of publication. Defendant asserts that this complaint, filed more than 3 years after the broadcast, is time barred. Defendant also argues that the complaint does not allege that defendant owed him a duty, that the duty was violated, or that he suffered any harm from the breach of the duty. Plaintiff argues that Kentucky's 5-year statute of limitation under statute 4131207 applies and that his claim is not governed by the 1 year statute of limitation for libel or slander. He further argues that defendant was negligent when it failed in its duty to act with due diligence and disclose too much of his personal information. The Kentucky Supreme Court has recently held that a plaintiff cannot maintain both a negligence claim and an intentional infliction of emotional distress claim based on a single set of facts. And then there's another case here. It says the Childers Court further held that there can be only one recovery for emotional distress on the same acts. It will either be caused as a result of an injury done to the plaintiff physically, or it will be caused by outrageous conduct, the purpose of which is to inflict emotional distress. Moreover, emotional distress as standalone damages can only be compensated through the tort of intentional infliction of emotional distress. Here, plaintiff only alleges mental and emotional damages, none of which does plaintiff allege were caused by a physical injury. As such, his claim sounds in the tort for intentional infliction of emotional distress and not negligence. For this reason, his negligence claim fails to state a claim upon which relief may be granted.
All right. So then we have the conclusion. For the foregoing reasons, defendant's motion to dismiss is granted. The instant action will be dismissed by separate order. So that was filed on September 16th, 2012. So just about a month after Patterson's decision.
And what did Lorne do after? Did he just accept his defeat? Or did he appeal it?
Does that sound like Lorne? Does it sound like Lorne's not going to stand for this?
Injustice, yeah.
He's not going to. So that was filed on September 16th. And then on September 28th, Lorne filed a notice of appeal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he just said basically that he doesn't like it. He doesn't like what
he
read.
Still thinks it was, his privacy was invaded while he was committing a crime.
Yeah.
And that they intentionally, emotionally damaged him.
Wow.
So look again, Judge.
Yeah, exactly. I do not accept. I don't accept your answer. So yeah, he did appeal it. Let's see. I'm just scrolling through. Yeah, I mean, that was dismissed as well.
Yeah. You can just imagine him in there, like, thinking he's this freedom fighter and he's going to stand up for what's right and he's not going to give up, and just the delusion and like lack of awareness of what the situation actually is. Because I fully think Lorne convinced himself that he was a victim. I think
definitely, yes.
He deleted all the bad stuff out of his memory about the chat log, and all he could remember was pouring his heart out to this decoy, and evil NBC and perverted justice reading it saying this guy is vulnerable as fuck. He is so vulnerable. Let's get him. I hope he has to take Prozac.
I hope he does. I know they loved that when they read that in his complaint. They're like, yes.
Yeah, that was very intentional.
Yeah, and Chris Hansen loved it. Because he's behind that along with Xavier. So evil. He definitely, evil.
Grotesque, I think Lorne described them as.
If you switch the letters of Chris Hansen around, it spells grotesque.
It does. It's true.
Yeah. So, I mean, he tried. He definitely
sure did.
tried. But I think calling him a freedom fighter behind bars is exactly the perfect way of describing him, because I think he truly believes it. He's the only one. I would be curious if Michael Patterson really believed it as well.
I don't know. We haven't seen inside Michael Patterson's mind nearly as much as we've seen into Lorne's.
Yeah.
So probably not. It's hard for me to imagine that anyone could believe it. But maybe.
I mean, I think that it could be where, he just kind of like shrugged his shoulders. He's like, whatever, cool.
Let's worth a try, I guess.
It's
right.
worth a try. Yeah. What else are you doing? You're not doing shit in there. So yeah, let's file a lawsuit. Let's go after NBC. They're not all perfect.
No, they're
they're not right
grotesque,
either.
actually.
Yeah.
They're ignorant and they made money.
Off of them.
Exactly.
And they
And
were the
Lorne
ones in
wrote the
jail.
whole thing.
I know.
So it's
Yes.
not even like Michael had to put in the work.
No, he didn't have to do anything. I think there were just some personal details, of course, the
Hmm.
fact that he was getting divorced and those types of things that had to do with his specific circumstance. But
Right.
everything else, no one else is going to write the word ignorance. No one's going to. I've never seen anybody write it
No.
as much as Lorne does.
And especially not in that context.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So funny. So, at the beginning of the reading of the judge's order, Lorne was happy. He thought he was going to be getting money, but he's not any longer. So,
No, no.
poor Lorne. He
But
had to go back to jail.
yes, and be penniless. And his mother just lost out on $350.
I know. I know. No surprise. Absolutely no surprise there.
I know. That would be funny hearing him explain that to her. The judge dismissed it, but I'm gonna keep fighting.
Yeah,
I
she's like,
appealed
great.
it, taking it to the appellate level. They have 3 judges.
I know, as if that makes it easier.
Right, as if that changes any of like the
Hmm.
facts of the case.
I know.
But he's held on to this for years and years and years. Even when he first started talking to Casey, to the newest
Hmm.
Casey,
Hmm.
he immediately tried to send her all this damning information on perverted justice and NBC to show her, like,
So
look, these people that you were working with, they're not what you think.
it's really baffling to me. And perhaps I'm ignorant. Maybe I
Perhaps.
am. But it's baffling that his argument is always, yeah, but you.
Hmm.
So as if what he did is because of what they did. If they didn't do what they did, he wouldn't have done what he did. So therefore, ipso facto,
Right.
it's their fault.
Give me money. Give
Give
me
me
money.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's always like that. You're not perfect either.
Well, that's exactly what he said, is if they hadn't put that little girl in there and had her keep talking to him, then he would never have done that.
Mhm.
It's just because they lured him with a 13-year-old girl.
It's too
So
sexy.
therefore, it's your fault.
Yeah.
They were preying on him
Yeah.
instead of just exposing him preying on a child, which of course is what really happened. And the whole thing is because his siblings screwed him over so badly that it turned his brain into zombie mush and he couldn't even
Mhm.
think straight.
Yeah. He couldn't say no to anybody,
No, he couldn't. Poor
even though
thing.
he did say that he did.
I know. That's true. That's true. Which is it? Because he told her no many times, he said.
Mhm. I
He
guess
gets
maybe it's the
confused,
final no.
I guess.
I guess. So basically, if we were to summarize this entire case with Lorne,
Hmm.
it's summarized basically in a clip. Do you want to see that clip?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's see.
I am a victim of a hate crime. Stanley knows what I'm talking about.
That's not what a hate crime is.
Well, I hated it.
Yeah. That basically summarizes the entire thing.
Hmm.
Like, no, Lorne, it's not negligence. No, Lorne, it's not intentional infliction of emotional distress. No, Lorne, it's not libel and slander. No, Lorne, no, Lorne, no, Lorne, it isn't. But he said, but it is.
It is, and I hate it.
Yeah. I got my feel bads hurt. That's
I
what he
really
said.
like, yeah, I really like how he throws in there that he had to be put on Prozac and Elavil and he was depressed. And that's NBC's fault.
Of course it
for
is.
exposing his crime that he committed. Anybody is going to be depressed in prison.
Of
Everybody,
course.
anybody.
I
Don't
know.
commit the crime. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. And I would have liked to hear. I know that NBC's lawyer, they went over like the statute of limitations. They didn't have to dig deeper into any claims of libel or slander or
Mm-hmm.
defamation and say that. I think they did say that nothing that was stated was false, so he
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have a case for that anyway.
Right.
But they could just get rid of it by saying the 1 year is up, bud. You had a year, you didn't do it in a year, so we're not even going to talk about it. It should be dismissed on that ground alone.
Mm-hmm.
But it would have been nice to just hear them roast him a little bit, like pointing out the obvious facts of the things that he did and how they weren't, none of it was a lie. They just showed what he said and did.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But because you're not taking Lorne's side in it, then it's wrong. Then you're not understanding. You're believing what they put out there about him. That's your problem.
What is the lie? Where's the slander that he's a sexual predator? That's what he said. Now people are
Mm-hmm.
going to think I'm a sexual predator. They put me, but you are. You did. He can have the excuse, well, I was vulnerable, so I wasn't, I did it for this reason, for that reason. That doesn't matter. It doesn't change the fact that he was still trying to have sex with a kid. Like I don't know. It's crazy that he put all that time and had his mother put the money towards that.
I know. I know. That's not cheap.
And certainly not for her. It's not like she has some
Mm-hmm.
high paying job or has like a bunch of money in saving. I mean, I guess she could have savings. I don't think so though. I think she like lives off her social security check every month.
Yeah, and it's possible that she got money from others too. He's got an aunt who is
Mm-hmm.
willing to help and all of that. So maybe it wasn't all of her money, but she
Mm-hmm.
was the one who actually sent it in.
Well, I remember when Lauren went back to prison for violating probation, he told Winnie on a phone call that his mother was thinking about going back to work
Yes.
so
I think
she
to
could
drive
pay
a
his
cab,
bills.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine
Yes.
that.
I know.
Being
And it
like,
was,
my mom, she loves me.
yeah, she's driving a cab when she's 78 years old or however old Lauren loved to point out,
Mm-hmm.
so she could pay his bills and feed his dogs and um, take care of her 50-something-year-old son.
I know. That's the crazy thing too. I mean, just imagine having a child and then when you're 80, you're still their mom. Like in a
Hmm.
mom kind of a way where you have to take care of them. It's not like she's just baking him something because she knows that he likes it or that she's giving him food because she knows that he happens to like something. But to have it so that you have a child who is a grown ass adult and is needing support from mommy is so crazy. I mean, could you imagine that?
No, I mean, no, I don't even want to. First of all, it's a huge burden on her because it's not like she has the money to do that.
Mhm.
But also, like the disappointment.
Hugely disappointing.
Yeah.
Hugely. I mean, most people are going to be out on their own at some point. Some people are out at 18 or even before then,
Hmm.
or, there's others who are out sometime in their early 20s, after school or when they get settled, you know.
Hmm.
But to be at the point where you're 50, yeah, you're not living with her. Number one, you weren't allowed to.
Right.
That's why. But also, the fact that you were given a place to live essentially didn't really have to pay too much in order to take ownership of it. and still be dependent on your mom for support.
Hmm. And that's carried on for even years and years after he got out of prison. He had to take her car to the airport to pick up Casey
I
because
know.
his vehicle wouldn't make it, wouldn't survive for a 2-hour drive.
Right.
He had to borrow, quote unquote, borrow money from her to get a new cell phone, which
Mm.
Casey roasted him for.
Mm-hmm.
He had no money for food, and he was lying, telling Casey that he had all this. He just stores food, like he has um, like a special backup supply of food. When everybody knows he was going over to his mother's house and getting it,
Mm-hmm.
taking her food. I'm sure he still relies on her to this day for all kinds of stuff.
Well, he needs cigarettes.
He does.
So, of course. Yeah. Oh my God. It'd be like, at what point, is Mama Gwen going to be like, fuck off?
Hmm.
Get out of my face with your hand. You've got your hand out constantly looking for
Hmm.
something as if you deserve anything. Fuck off and figure it out. If you don't have a car that can get you to the airport to pick up your alleged girlfriend,
Right.
then you're not going. How about that?
Yeah, figure it out yourself, you fucking bum.
I know.
And the most annoying part is he pretends that he takes care of her.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't do shit for her. When Casey, again, was asking him, what have you done in the past 10 years? What have you done in the past? You haven't done anything since you got out of prison? He's like, well, you know how I take care of mom, right? Where?
Yeah,
Where and
where?
when and how do you take care of her?
And what is that supposed to be an answer to? What was he being
Well,
asked? What have you done with your life?
yes, yes. What have you done with your life? And he said he was too busy taking care of his mother, and that's why he couldn't live his own life. Like
Get
he wouldn't
fucking wrecked.
abandon his mother in a second if he thought there was a woman waiting for him
He
somewhere.
has.
Yeah,
He
he
has done
doesn't
that.
care.
Remember Mother's Day?
Yeah, his Mother's Day was right. He loves his mother so much. He couldn't even spend Mother's Day with her. He had to go home and get drunk and cry over an imaginary girlfriend,
Right.
an imaginary telephone girlfriend who got a coffee from another man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. He's devoted his life to taking care of his mother, sacrificed everything for her. And before that, he sacrificed his life to take care of his nieces and nephew.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he told Casey. He spent his life taking care of those kids. Really? Your whole life? And you took care of those kids for the what he said what they were Kayla's age when he started talking to Kayla, or a little
They
bit
were
older than
older,
her.
yeah.
Yeah. So he had spent the last 15 years taking care of those kids. What bullshit. I think he moved in with his brother for, I don't know, a
Mm-hmm.
few months maybe. And he tried to say they begged him to move in with them so they would have someone to take care of their kids. I'm sure Lorne had no place to go. He had no place to live. So
Yeah.
he moved in there and mooched off them and took an unnatural interest in the little girl.
Oh man, I
I
know.
know.
Uh, well,
Crazy.
so Lorne, as you know, does not take no for an answer.
Hmm.
So approximately a year after this order was filed, he did file another lawsuit. So we're probably going to go over that one because that one's pretty funny as well. Just in what he says, I think a lot of it is just him going off. He's so
Hmm.
mad. That's where he talks about the female powers.
Hmm.
And yeah, that should be pretty good.
I wonder if that one cost money too. It must have, right?
It had to. It's a totally separate case.
Oh my God, his poor mother.
I know. Yeah.
Because she also paid to have his stupid book published.
She did, and she also gave him $5,000 from her inheritance, which was her
Mm-hmm.
entire inheritance from her brother.
Mm-hmm.
The one who passed away, who was living in the trailer that he's living in now, and that he absolutely destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe he lives in that place. It's not even, how can you even call it a place? In order for it to be a place, it would have to have walls and stuff, you know?
Well, he's fixing it up. It's going to be a
Oh
$60
my
million
God.
dollar mansion.
I mean, his version of fixing up is not the same as many others would think of
Well, yeah, it's so funny because he says this place wasn't fucking livable. When
it.
I moved in, it wasn't livable. If you compare the pictures from however many years ago to current day, it is crazy what he's done to that place.
Was it this trailer that he said that about, or did you say that too? Because I know he said that about the other one that Uncle Clay evicted him from when he was talking to
Oh,
Ramona.
yeah, that quote, I think, came from, it was talking about the other trailer when he was
Hmm.
talking to Ramona. But I think he said the same thing about the current trailer, that it was in such terrible condition. That's why he's been working on it for all these years.
Funny how it looked a lot better before he got
It
his
really
hands on it.
did.
Yeah.
At least the outside. I don't know about the inside. I'm sure it's the same, but the outside is crazy what he's done to that place.
It is absolutely insane. Yeah. So I know it's been said before, but Betty really lucked out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she did, because if he had finished that project, it wouldn't be standing right now.
Yeah, she said she called the like hardware company or the hardware store to ask about some, I don't know, pieces of wood or something, that some materials that she needed, and she described what Lorne had bought and what he planned to do for her roof. And the guy said, "Lady, it's going to be snowing in your living room
Yes.
or something."
Uh-huh. Yeah, I remember that.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It is really, really incredible what he's done to that place. He completely destroyed it. Completely.
I think he destroys everything. He's just a failure.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He
I think
is.
most people would agree. I mean, it's just not good.
No, everything he does, he doesn't have the skill or the work ethic
Hmm.
to complete any of it. I mean, the he decided he was going to file a lawsuit by himself against NBC, who I'm sure has the best lawyers ever. They can afford an enormous team of lawyers that have gone up against far more difficult um, adversaries than Lorne Armstrong, you
Oh,
know?
of course. Yeah. They're going to
Yeah,
have corporate lawyers versus corporate lawyers. That's what they
right.
would are going to be used to, not an inmate in Kentucky, you know, who really who really didn't have anything to that was worthwhile to say in his claim. Just that he didn't like it.
Hmm. Right. It wasn't nice, and NBC made money. That's a fly on the wall situation. I'd love to see when they read the lawsuit, when the lawyer sat down and looked at it and was like, "What the
Oh.
fuck is this? You want $40 million, huh? You misspelled 40, but you want $40 million,
I
huh?"
know, exactly. Yeah. And it's funny too, because you imagine that she probably just worked on this herself. Like, she didn't need anybody else to help her.
No, I'm sure. Yeah, because I mean, part of it was like it's been what 3 or 4 years, and there's a 1 year statute of limitations. Dum dum.
Yeah, so it just stops there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's dismissed. God.
Nice. Yeah, so maybe next time we will talk about that. For anybody following the Sarah Boone trial, it is moving fast and furious.
Uh-huh.
So it's probably going to be done within the next day or so. And it just started last Friday.
I know. That's so crazy too, considering how long all of this has been drawn out.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I mean, maybe that's why they're just like boom, boom, boom. Let's go. Let's get this shit done with. We've been dealing with Sarah Boone for far too long. Let's get it
Yeah, it
over
could
with.
be. And certainly because she does have a defense team now
Mm-hmm.
that they were able to put together the case, where I think a lot of the time may have been needed to have her be her own defense counsel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that would have been an absolute disaster. It would have been
I
completely
know.
unproductive, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it wouldn't have been good.
Well, she's still going against her lawyer's advice.
Of course.
Yeah, she still is thinking that she's the smartest person in the room. But at the end of each day, or every day of the trial so far that I've seen, the judge has asked her, "Are you satisfied with your counsel's work?"
Mm-hmm.
And I've never heard a judge do that before.
No, I haven't either. Maybe they're making special record.
Yeah, maybe because they don't want her to be able to, um, say she had ineffective counsel
Mm-hmm.
at the end of all this.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, I've seen her respond with an enthusiastic, definitely.
Oh,
She's,
really? See, I haven't
yeah.
seen that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll see how she feels at the end.
Right. We'll see.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting. We are going to catch up on that.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually going to get started and talking about the opening statements and stuff, but it was like, it has moved so quickly that
Mm-hmm.
I think we're just going to have some thoughts and highlights. And that's going to be the end of it. Just get it over with.
Yep.
She's
Get
going
it
to,
done with.
yeah, get it done. I mean, at this point, like you said, it's been so long. It's just been a circus. And at some point, it's going to end. Now, I did hear this came from the Twitter, so it's true.
Must be, yes.
But apparently, Sarah has a girlfriend.
Oh, I heard that too.
Yeah, and that girlfriend may have been in the courtroom.
Ooh.
So, yeah, they were
Oh, a
saying maybe
girlfriend
that's the
from.
reason why she was smiling and stuff like that.
Oh, maybe that's why she wanted her makeup done and her hair, and she wanted to wear a skirt.
Maybe.
I mean, to be fair, it is a nationally televised trial. So, I mean, I guess it's okay to want to wear some makeup and do your hair. I get it. I get it. I won't hate on her for that. I didn't know if the girlfriend was a prison girlfriend or an outside girlfriend.
Well, she's not in prison yet. So it's possible that she just met her in jail and that person was only in there for whatever amount of time and then left and is now
Mm-hmm.
out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
So
good for you, Sarah.
good for you, Sarah. Keeping that love life going.
Mm-hmm.
She's been very busy in jail these last few years, So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be happening very, very quickly. So we're recording this on the 23rd. I bet you by the time we post this, it'll be over.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited
Yeah.
to see.
See what's going to happen, what the verdict is
Yeah.
going to be, and how long it's
Mm-hmm.
going to take them to get there
Mm-hmm.
as well. So, yeah. So, everyone, thank you so much for joining us for some more Lorne bullshit.
The Ballad of Lorne Armstrong. Yes.
Very nice. Very nice. So poetic.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we will see you next time again. Thank you so much for joining us and take care.